All right, John, if you would be kind enough. Thank you, sir. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 20th day of September, 2021. This is a regular council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council in effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities. The city of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually as a video conference with public access. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 4:01 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley is not here yet. Okay, Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
There he is.
Whoa.
Councilperson Solomon. Not here yet. Okay. Councilperson Robinson. I don't see him yet. Okay. Councilperson Labarro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
All right, we have 6 council members in attendance at 4:01 p.m. In addition, at its time of preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, September 17th, 2021 at 5:10 p.m. to the mayor, council, business administrator, and the local newspapers and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, would you like me to take it from the top?
Yes, please, Sean.
Okay.
Councilwoman
Alrighty.
Ridley is here.
Councilperson Ridley is here. I will mark her present. How are you,
Thank you.
Councilperson? At 4:02 p.m. So we now have 7 council members at 4:02. Any other council member that arrives, just please text me and I will mark you present at the time that you arrive. Okay, taking it from the top, going to first reading ordinances. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 21-066 is an ordinance to regulate the installment of new wireless utility poles and equipment by amending the code of the City of Jersey City, Chapter 296, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Rights of Way. Any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Just had some questions on this, or wanted to get just an explanation as to what amendments are being changed. I know, Council Solomon's here.
Yep. So I'm going to mark Council Solomon present at 4:03 p.m. So we now have 8 council members present at 4:03.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Councilperson Solomon.
I can just give a quick overview. So as the council, I'm sure remembers, I think we've approved as a council 3 separate contracts for installation of 5G poles across downtown and the city. And, some concerns have been arisen during that process once the poles get installed, and particularly questions around, notification of the community before poles installed, co-location, so trying to ensure that poles are as much as possible, or the technology as much as possible placed on old existing infrastructure and doesn't require a new pole to be installed, as well as coordination with some of the different utilities. So what this ordinance does is it basically tries to set a governing structure for both current 5G installations and then any future ones that would come. And it sets a few things, and I should say that it was initiated from some community members who asked for us to look at this, and then both engineering and city planning and law have had multiple revisions in looking at the ordinance. And it establishes what's called a right-of-way permit for wireless companies who want to install a 5G pole. It establishes design and inspection provisions for those poles. And then it establishes an order of preference for installation. So it basically says the first preference is on existing telephone or electrical lines between existing utility poles. Then it's existing utility poles. Then it's municipal service poles. And then its new wireless poles shall be the least preferred type of allowed facility. So that's sort of the core idea. So it still allows for the installation of new 5G poles. It just really tries to establish a organized structure to ensure that as much as possible, existing infrastructure is used. The placement of poles is sort of sensible, and the community is notified. Some of these things were practices already being done by city planning and city engineering as part of this process, but they weren't codified. They were being done on a sort of informal basis, and I think just creates a little bit of a better structure for the city in how we regulate these things. So that's a quick overview.
Can we also have it
Thank
that the existing that if the existing pole is utilized, that they clean the wires, or they contact whoever has wires on that pole to have them cleaned up if they're not being utilized?
Yeah, let me ask if that's something we can require them to do. It may not be their wires, so I'm not 100% we're allowed to do it, but I agree, the wires are a tangled mess, so if anything we can do to force it to get clean, the better. So Councilman, I'll ask Law if we can add that.
Or some sort of, whether it's a requirement or a notice that before they put up a new pole or new service, that they remove the existing services that aren't being used, because they just keep adding and adding, and now it's it's out of control.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that could be had with engineering. And nevertheless, I think we can help look into that for you. I think a lot of it's going to be contingent on the feasibility of removing some redundant or unnecessary infrastructure, but nevertheless, we can help have that conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to mark Councilperson Robinson present at 4:06 p.m. So we now have all 9 council members present at 4:06 p.m. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Councilman Solomon, just I have some technical problems with my computer right now, so I don't have the resolution in front of me, the ordinance rather. And I remember reading something about that there was a decision by the FTC in August of last year. Is there could you or the law department elaborate on that, and like what it was referenced in the ordinance itself in the whereas, in terms of what that allowed or did not, I guess, in that regard?
So I defer a little bit to the law department on the legal analysis of it, but as I understand it, there was a law ruling from the Ninth Circuit that allowed municipalities greater regulation of the aesthetics of the poles, so what they look like, with the criteria that the regulations are technically feasible and reasonably directed to remedy aesthetic harms. So I think it just gives, there had previously been regulations that had given the city less ability to regulate the aesthetics of the poles, and I think this gives us more ability to regulate what they actually look like. But it's not total power. We can't say that you have to, your pole has to, be the color purple because we like purple or something like that. We can't have an arbitrary regulation, and we can't have a regulation that makes it impossible to install the pole. But we do have a little bit more ability to determine what the poles look like.
Yeah, I can find. I'll be honest. I've not reviewed that opinion in detail, but I can circulate that to everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions? All right, moving on to our next first reading ordinance, item 3.2, City Ordinance 21-067, an ordinance amending Chapter 257-6, Property Transfers, and Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 7, Metered Parking, Article 8, Permit Parking of the Jersey City Municipal Code. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay. Moving on to our next and last first reading ordinance, item 3.3, City Ordinance 21-068, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Alrighty. Moving on to our second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 21-062, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-24, no parking certain hours on Washington Street and Columbus Drive in the vicinity of 25 Christopher Columbus Drive. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Alrighty, moving on. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 21-063 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Alrighty. Item 4.3, City Ordinance 21-064, franchise ordinance granting permission to 208 CCJ LLC for the installation of 4 decorative planters at Block 12703, Lot 1, also known as 2 Cole Street, 4 Cole Street, 6 Cole Street, 8 Cole Street, encroaching into the right-of-way. Any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Councilman Solomon, I just want to confirm that we're okay to proceed with this from the community's perspective.
Sorry. Yes, I'll do one more double check, but I believe we are, so I believe we're good to go for Wednesday.
Okay, I'll confirm before the meeting. Thank you, Councilman.
Great, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this ordinance? Alrighty, on to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 21-065, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-22, no parking at any time on Kearney Avenue. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none, we have one speaker listed. I know there's a couple of more speakers that will be listed to the public request for a hearing. And we have petitions and communications items 6.1 through 6.12. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.12? Okay, Office of Communications 7.1 through 7.6. Any questions or comments on Office of Communications 7.1 through 7.6? Right, we have one report of directors, 8.1. Any questions or comments on 8.1? Okay, hearing none. On to our
Sorry,
complaint.
if I
Go ahead.
can just jump in there on that. So John, I just wanted to ping again on the issue of appointments of directors, acting directors, and kind of where the status is with that. Again, and then to the law department on that, what's the legal requirement as it pertains to acting directors, departmental directors, and the appointment of those, whether they need to come before the city council at this point, and resolutions need to be approved. And if we could get a legal opinion ASAP, I think I've asked this now several meetings consecutively at this point.
Sure, Councilman, just for a little background on that, upon review, between tomorrow night's council meeting and the end of the term is 100 days, and these are 90-day appointments. So in speaking with the legal department, it made sense to bring it to the council's consideration in the first meeting of October and ratify the dates that were existing in between the last resolution and the resolution in October. I don't know if Peter has anything to add to that.
No, that's kind of the bullseye right there.
Can you explain it again? You said 100 days before the end of the year. Is that what you said?
So if we would have had a resolution on for tonight, that would have meant that, I'm sorry, for Wednesday night, apologize. That would mean that it would expire again prior to the end of the 4-year term for each of those appointments for director. So it made more sense to have it in the October meeting, which would fulfill from October to the end of December 31st. And in that resolution, we'll ratify any dates that were missing between the last resolution and the October meeting. In other words, if we took action on Wednesday night, at the end of the year, we'd be past the 90 days again. So just
I
made
get to do it
sense
again in
clean it up.
December.
Right.
So it's pretty much every 90 days you have to do a new, if you're going to continue in an acting capacity, it has to be reappointed. Is that that's going before the city council? Is that the ruling on that?
Yeah, so the first appointment would be through, and I'll defer to Peter for legal analysis and writing, but first appointments from the administration through the mayor's letter, and then after that would continue with the extensions through council.
Peter, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I do not.
So can you just to clarify from your office that the mayor has the legal authority to appoint someone on an acting basis as a department director for 90 days? And then after that 90-day term expires, that appointment has to be done with the advice and consent of the city council. Is that an accurate statement on my part?
I'll send an analysis to the council prior to Wednesday's meeting.
Great, thanks.
Okay, we'll have our claims, which we'll be considering, and then we move on to our resolutions. Okay, item 10.1. City Resolution 21-660 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City expressing support for the City of Jersey City to conduct a third-party audit to determine the costs of bringing trash and recycling services in-house.
Someone here to explain?
Sure, Council President. So this is something that we're working in communication with Councilwoman Panzeri, and I know council members have discussed this option in the past. The prior administrator had also engaged with some of the council members on this. This is what we want to do is, with the consent of the council through Councilwoman Panzeri's discussion, we'd like to set forward an in-house garbage collection review by a third-party administrator, and this person would help us kind of line up what the budget would look like for this process, and if we'd like to do it in-house. It's being considered through finance, because we would be the one, the Department of Finance would be the ones that would administer the third-party auditor, but it's Councilwoman Panzeri's initiative if she would like to comment on it further.
Yeah, sure, gladly. So this actually goes back to conversations I had with Brian Platt when he was a business administrator and in advance of Regional Industries contract expiring. At the time, the numbers that they had presented were more than what the current contract was. When the contract was renewed, obviously those costs went up. And so there's been some back and forth about some of the different options, including continuing to move forward with Regional Industries. But this is an opportunity to take a look at what it might cost to bring it in-house over a 5-year aggregate, right? So when they first did the numbers, it was something like 16 million first year, and then over the next 5 years, that number dropped down, which was a savings to the city. I figure, since Regional's contract has been renewed, we've not received, so far as I'm concerned, great service based on feedback we've received. Council President, you and I have been in meetings with them. And it's just, I think it's an opportunity to explore some options.
Okay.
I had 3 complaints today one about recycling, 2 about garbage dumped all over the streets. I had them appear before our council, Joyce, and you should remember twice the head of the garbage company, and nothing was done. And last night was a shame. They didn't pick up garbage in a couple of blocks. They dropped garbage all over Palisade Avenue and left recycling in a lot of places. We got to get our own recycling.
And I know we had also talked about an option of splitting the city into districts or to do service by ward, but that means 4 to 6 different contracts, project managers for all that. And I think that that's too labor intensive. And you know, there's a number of benefits to the city and for the city if it looks that there may be some cost savings. So on numerous different fronts, right? So to the taxpayer, to jobs creator, and like all the things that we've talked about over the last year and a half since we renewed their contract. So I just, now's the time to just to move on it.
Okay. All right.
I have several questions and comments with regard to this. So we're looking to bring in a third party, meaning a consultant or someone to do an audit that will ultimately determine what the cost would be to do insourcing. Is that
correct?
Yeah. So I'm glad that folks are coming around to this, because literally since going back to when Bob Kekaleski was the business administrator, every time this contract came up, I brought it up that we should go insource on this and bring that service in-house and to hire folks, local residents to do this. And at the time, it was suggested to me, and this is going back at least 4 years to possibly 5 to 6 years, maybe even longer, that it was cost prohibitive. Right? So that was reiterated by the administration and the business administrator at that time, and that was cost prohibitive. And I had asked at that time that that analysis be shared, the cost analysis, and never received any information about that cost analysis. Subsequently, after that, when Mr. Platt was the administrator, he even suggested that there was an analysis and had asked for that. And so I'm going to pose the question to Mr. Metro as a successor. Is there any sort of financial analysis, or has there ever been a financial analysis to determine the cost of doing this service in-house, and rather than kind of, again, spending some more money on a consultant to look into this, do we have that sort of information or data available or research available to us as a city council?
So Councilman, thanks for the question. So the city had never contracted for this type of analysis, nor had the department, the functions of the finance department ever engaged in it. I know that the former administrator, Brian Platt, had did some analysis and some discussions with vendors and potential dollars that would cost versus the contract, but we never formalized a report or had anything to provide publicly to the council. Or I could search his emails and files to see if he has documents, but there's nothing that was collaboratively put together that I could share.
Yeah, I think you should look into that, because look, I'm going to say I've been very much broken record on this, the drumbeat on this, is that it was said that when the contract was $9 million, that was cost prohibitive. When the contract came before us to approve it for renewal at $15 million, I believe I made the statement of like, is it still cost prohibitive? Like we jumped from $9 million to $15 million, saying it was cost prohibitive to bring it in-house, and now we're at $15 million and more on that contract. And so I would argue that it's not even cost prohibitive, and that what we should be looking at, instead of an analysis to figure out whether what the cost would be, is to figure out the cost of actually doing it. And that we should just actually make a commitment to doing that and bringing that in-house, that service, and establishing the entire infrastructure, the capital expenses that are necessary for that, as well as figuring out the manpower and what's necessary to do all of that, rather than kind of trying to figure out the cost analysis on it. The second thing I just really want to pose to as a question is, since we're bringing up the idea of the trash collection fee, it was suggested by the administration that people would receive refunds. And my question is, have Jersey City residents, Jersey City ratepayers received their refunds for their solid waste collection fee that was imposed on them in their Suez bills? Can the administration respond to that question, or anyone else, Franklin?
Councilman, those would be disseminated by the MUA if there was any. I know that they're still in the process of reviewing the fees and what was intipped by residents and what would be still outstanding or credited. I can ask them for an update on their analysis, but it wouldn't come from our perspective, it would come from the MUA.
So I can appreciate that. That's the appropriate technical answer on that. But we know that the MUA works closely with the administration, that the decision to actually bring that contract to the MUA started with the administration in some way or form, right? To deny that otherwise would be disingenuous at best. And so I think kicking the can and saying that it belongs to somebody else's responsibility is not an adequate response. I think the administration needs to, saying the mayor himself said that he was going to ensure that there were refunds, that people would be refunded. And I think the administration needs to exert their authority to ensure that those refunds are in fact processed and credited to people's accounts, or checks issued and refunds issued to the ratepayers of Jersey City. The second part of this, in terms of the trash collection, is the question still remains unanswered as to how is the 2021 trash collection contract being paid for and who is paying for it. We still do not have an answer there. And again, I would suggest that the administration needs to determine that and figure out that, because it's not in our budget, as was raised when we approved the budget on September 1st. And the MUA is not collecting the fees supposedly from taxpayers, or supposedly, I don't know if that's the case or not, or MUA Suez. So who in fact is paying for it, and where is the money coming from at this point? And we need answers to that. And this is the city council's job to be able to be a fiscal watchdog on this and to provide a check and balance in these areas. And I would ask that the administration, I call on the entire city council to say, demand that we get the answers to these questions at this point. It's not fair to the people of Jersey City and to the ratepayers of Jersey City, and we need to get answers ASAP from the administration and not kick the can down the road past it. Particularly when we're issuing tax bills that say we're giving everyone tax cuts, when in fact there's a hidden backdoor tax that still hasn't been repealed or refunded. Can we get an answer to that?
I got a call from a woman today who got a water bill almost the same as the last time and no refund.
You're making my point, Councilman Bojano, and I think we need to demand that that there be a refund. And I would ask the rest of the council to echo that call for that as well. That's we've already passed a resolution. It's not enough to just pass the resolution. What we need to do is demand that the MUA and the Suez and this administration actually issue refunds to folks. No more kicking the can down the road. Let's take care of the people of Jersey City.
Hey, John, can we at least ask MUA or Suez to let people know what they're going to do with that that extra fee? Because I'm getting a lot of questions of, should I pay the fee or should I not pay the fee? And I don't want to give residents an answer one way or the other. I don't want to tell them not to pay that fee, and then Suez, holds that over their head later on. And gives them any type of late charges or anything like that. So I think we definitely need a clear answer of what people should be doing at this point. If they're reevaluating that bill and they plan to change it, then people need confirmation that they are going to receive a refund if they've already paid, and they need confirmation that they're not going to be penalized if they decide not to pay that fee.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. So at this point, they're still reviewing their billing because there seem to be some inaccuracies. With the billing of the fee. The fee is to collect and remit to the garbage collector. That's what the fee is being asserted for, and then being remitted to the vendor. There seem to be some discrepancies in that billing. So what they did is ask residents to pay their regular water bill and not assume the additional cost of those fees pursuant to the solid waste. until further clarification was presented on each individual's bill, whether they overpaid and they're served a credit, or they paid a percentage of their bill and they still have something outstanding. So I'll ask for an update from Suez, but as of right now, they're to remit their water bill for water usage and not pay the piece for solid waste. That's designated on their bill.
Okay. Okay. Sean?
Alrighty. Okay, item 10.2, City Resolution 21-661 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of assessment appeals filed before the Tax Court of New Jersey on various properties. Any questions or comments on this?
Not a specific question about this particular resolution, but Council President, since we're talking about taxes, may I ask about the property tax bills that recently went out?
If there may not be someone, if someone here can answer it, is Ed here or someone? I don't know. Someone
John,
here?
can you answer questions about the tax bills?
Sure.
So I understand that they went out and that the systems are updated. Can you just let us know when those tax bills went out? Are they all out? Are they within taxpayers' mailboxes and kind of when the due date is for all of that?
Yes, Councilman. So the tax bills did go out last Monday. They went out via mail, and the system online was being updated. If someone checked their bills online between Monday and Wednesday of last week, they may have seen a small discrepancy. That was just the turnover of the tax system. The online portal has now been updated. Residents have 28 days to pay bills with no interest fee, 28 days from last Monday. There is no added 10-day grace period in the third quarter, but there will be in the fourth quarter. And then they can pay via online, they can pay in person, or via the Dropbox or by mail. So there's 4 options for individuals to pay, and everyone should have received their bill. If not, we could work with the tax collector to get a copy.
And these are the third quarter tax bills, correct, John?
That's correct, Councilman, and the fourth quarter would be due on a normal November schedule.
So when would the normal third quarter bill be due? If it wasn't put off until after the budget adoption?
The normal third quarter bill would be due in October. I'm sorry, not October, August, I'm sorry.
Did you say August?
August, correct.
I believe. And can you just explain again, just for the record again, that why we waited till November with the issue or later? And why it's due October 6th at this point? Why did we wait and not instead of issuing them sooner?
Sorry, Councilman, you're going in and out, but I think I heard most of your questions. So the bills were remitted late, not late, but later than expected, due to the passage of the budget being a little late. And the reason the budget was passed later this year is because we did insert federal and state grant dollars that we received, and the state was under review of checking that those dollars were used in allowable ways. So it took a little longer for our budget to be reviewed and passed by both the auditors and the state. In turn, the bills went out a little later and the due dates are a little later. For purposes, we did receive some feedback from residents that said, they understand that they were a little late, but they were able to hold their dollars, or they were able to, they had a little additional time to collect the money that they needed for their bills without penalty. So wasn't necessarily a negative effect. It was just they had to monitor the dates a little bit more.
So can you confirm that residents aren't being charged interest from August until when the tax bills were disseminated?
Yes, that's correct, Councilman. The interest will start accruing in October if they missed the deadline, and the interest would go back to August just because that would have been the original due date.
So do you think that's fair? They didn't get a bill issued until September, and they're going to be charged interest going back to August 1st. And that's the crux of it, right? So like in past years, as my memory serves me, is that when we didn't have a bill ready or weren't able to pass a budget, we issued an estimated bill. And we didn't do that this time because we wanted to issue a wait till the budget was approved so that we could send the actual bill. And I know that those bills went out with the letter from the mayor touting the budget, the tax reductions and so forth. And that I understand how that's played in politics, but the idea that that taxpayers who, through no fault of their own, are getting a bill that's issued in early September with a due date of October 6th, if for whatever reason they end up paying October 7th, they're going to be charged interest from August 1st when they never had that bill in their hands till the date of October 6th or the date that they ultimately pay. And so whatever reduction that they may have seen as a result, if through whatever, because of whatever circumstances they may have, they may not have paid their bill on time, they're going to end up having to pay significant interest, which, what is the interest rate now? Is it 18%?
8 and 18. 8% on the first 1,500, 18% on the additional dollars after 1,500.
Yeah, so 18% interest penalties on those folks through no fault of their own. My question is that a fair? Is that fair for them? While other people may have had an opportunity to tuck some money away while the bill was still coming, now they still have to pay that. Plus, they're going to have to pay the fourth quarter bill on November 1st. Whatever they tucked away is going to quickly have to go out the door again going into November 1st. But is that fair to those folks who have to pay? And mind you, let me say this: like, I get my bill through my mortgage company. It's electronic. It's all paid for automatically. That's probably true of most people who are still paying their mortgage. But the people who are most likely, and this isn't like I'm just guessing here, is that the people who are still paying their bills in paper are people who've paid off their mortgage, which means seniors, right? People on fixed incomes and so forth. And so if they're late with their payment, they're the ones who are going to get slammed with the penalties going back to August 1st. And so I'd just like the administration to speak to that and whether that's fair and what's going to be done to address that so that they don't get harmed, those taxpayers through no fault of their own, should they end up paying late after the October 6th deadline.
The interest payment is a state statute and it's a state requirement that it's imposed after that date. All I could say is that August bills, that the money that they could have or needed to come up with in August is now due October 6th. Other than that, the interest the interest percentage is set by the city, but the interest laws are set by the state.
BA, is there any way for us to request a waiver from the state? Because I think the councilman's point is accurate that, you know, people should only be charged interest from the day that they're late, not months back. And I understand, you know, state statute and our ability, but do we have any ability to, you know, petition the DCA commission or petition local government services and say, look, you know, we understand what it's written there, but that's not fair and that shouldn't be the intent of the law.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing we ever have done before, but I'm happy to work with the council at that request.
We would have to work very speedily, and I think, you know, working with the council is fine, but I would urge the administration to just work very speedily if there's going to be a request from local government services to seek a waiver or to seek to somehow set that those penalties and interest effective from some date in September through to October, so that they're not slammed again with over 30 days of interest and penalties that are not any fault of their own, but are the fault of us for issuing a later bill that they never received until just this past week, frankly, last week.
Are other municipalities dealing with the same thing, that they, you know, obviously, you know, they had to get the information from the state and the state had to look at the Federal CARES Act, and so as a result, tax bills went out a little later. Like, I can't imagine we're the only ones that are dealing with this.
I mean, each city's unique, Councilman. Some are dealing with late ones. Some issued third quarter estimates, which means that taxpayers' fourth quarter will be substantially higher, and then there'll be an issue that they didn't have the funds in the fourth quarter. So each city has their own set of circumstances. But yes, everyone was slowed in some sort of way dealing with the pandemic and the state and auditing approvals.
Mr. Metro, may I also ask this, were you or anyone in your office aware that, given that the payments were going out, the bills were going out later, that in fact penalties would be assessed going back to August 1st? Because that was never shared with the council when questions were raised, because we had raised questions, I had raised questions about asking when the bills would go out. And that information was never shared, that in fact people would be assessed penalties going back to August 1st.
Those matters are discussed with the tax collector, and we always defer to the tax collector, who's a constitutional statutory officer. So unless that question was posed to her, I wouldn't have the answer for that.
But the decision to ultimately do to do a delayed bill and wait for the budget approval, as opposed to an estimated bill, was made by the administration at some point, right? And in making that determination and that decision, did you look into the idea, or were you aware of the fact that penalties and interest would be accrued going back to August 1st?
Councilman, the discussion that we had was that the bills would have originally been due in August, and the taxpayers were not going to be we weren't going to be collecting dollars from the taxpayers until late September, early October. So it gave them 6 to 8 weeks of additional time to gather their funds and to remit it to the city.
The state does this on a regular basis, though, when we deal with our budget somehow or another. We always get caught like this. Maybe we need to have a meeting with the state also concerning this, because it does affect our residents. And I know they have their hand in this too. So I don't know, John, could you set up a meeting? Because this happens always around our budget time. There's always a pushback, and we get the tax bills out late. And they have to know how it affects our residents, not just ours. I'm quite sure other municipalities got the same problem.
Yeah, it's each municipality across the state deals with the same type of issues, Council President. And our taxpayers in Jersey City, we have a estimated collection of I believe 96%. So they do a good job of fulfilling their payments, and we'll try to work with them as best we can with any interest payments.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Sean.
sure. On to item 10.3, City Resolution 21-662 is a resolution authorizing the replacement of a lost third-party certificate, U.S. Bank Cust Tower DB 7TR 2017-1. Any questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, item 10.4, City Resolution 21-663 is a resolution authorizing the replacement of a lost third-party tax sale certificate, U.S. Bank Cust Tower DB 9 2019-1, number 2019-1526. Any questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, item 10.5, City Resolution 21-664 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to, 1, approve the sale of 435 Rose Avenue, Block 22601, Lot 16.11, and 2, authorize Nelson Treyas and Solange Maria do Carmo Francesca to assume the city's mortgage against the property. Any questions or comments on this resolution?
I have a question. Just what's the sale price on this property?
Good afternoon, council members. Samantha Carpio from the Division of Community Development. I can get you the purchase price.
If someone could provide that for me, it doesn't have to be right now. It's,
Yes.
but if we could get that information and what the sales price is, and then how much the homeowner is getting of that. This has come up as a issue with affordable units that are home ownership units, and as they try to sell it, what's their return to those property owners as a result. This one's a 2017 property, if I recall. So it's a fairly, hasn't owned it very long, but whoever's currently owning it and selling it. So if we could get that information as to what the sales price was and how much the owner is going to take from that sales price, or
Absolutely.
get from that, I should say, not take.
Okay.
All right. Item 10.6, Resolution 21-665 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to approve the sale of 25 Duncan Avenue, Unit 505, Jersey City, 07307, Block 16502, Lot 10, and authorize George W. Aviles and Lorena Del Lacranto Aviles to assume the city's mortgage against the property.
Just the same question. This is Councilman Navarro, same question for that property as well. Can the administration, is John or Carmen or
Samantha?
someone from DCD here to acknowledge
Yes,
that?
Can you hear me?
Barely, you're very faint on my side.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Samantha, hi Samantha.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, good afternoon, council. My apologies. Yes, I will get you that for both 10.5 and 10.6.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha.
No problem.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Item 10.7, Resolution 21-666 is a resolution of the Jersey City Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the planning board.
Council President.
Hello?
Yeah?
Okay.
Who was that?
I don't know who that was.
I don't either.
Okay.
That was me, Councilman Robinson. Could Sam send that to everyone? The 435 and the Duncan Avenue? Rose?
Yes, I will send that out to. Yes,
Samantha, just send it to Desiree and she'll get it out.
very good. Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10.7, City Resolution 21-666. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the planning board to investigate whether the property known as Block 27401, lots 39, 40, and 42 on the tax map of the City of Jersey City, State of New Jersey, is an area in need of redevelopment with the power of condemnation as described herein pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1 exec.
Can we get an explanation as to why we're looking to determine this is an area in need of redevelopment, or who made the request for this investigation, and what's the goal or purpose here?
Anybody from planning or redevelopment here? One of the two.
So, I can explain, I think, at least why, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Tanya.
I can explain at least why we're looking at studying the designation. So this is currently in a redevelopment plan. This is the Chapel Ave Industrial Park redevelopment plan. And that plan does not allow for eminent domain or condemnation. So this is just a study to see if it meets that extra burden of whether or not it can be condemned for public purposes.
Thank you, Tanya. Tanya, is this initiated by an outside party that's seeking to make this change or look into this change, investigate it?
I believe it's all internal, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Yeah, so Councilman, this is the area that we facilitate the car pound at and the adjacent lots next to it. So we're also, in addition to the garbage collection initiative, looking at potentially having a city-run car pound. So this is the only area that would facilitate something of that size. So we're just asking to see through planning and through Tanya if it would be even a consideration. It's very early in stages, but just want to see if it's an option at minimum.
Okay, thank you, John. I will admit everything cut out because I have a bad connection. So I'm just going to call you offline to discuss that and get some more information. As a separate question, though, and it doesn't have to come right now, but if you can get an explanation, some information about, there once upon a time was proposal to do 4 kind of, I believe it was 4 different locations for an auto pound. And where those plans stand at this point, and has that strategy or that tactic been or idea been still moving forward, or is that essentially abandoned at this juncture?
So the premise of the car pound is still existent, and that's why we're looking into this initiative. However, logistically, it would just make sense to keep everything housed into one location. And for size constraints, this is the one location that would make the most sense. Being able to store upwards of 600 to 700 vehicles at a given time.
Okay, so the rules that were promulgated with the idea of trying to do 4. I mean, the 4 sites, I think it was 4, north, south, east, west, I think was the different locations we're looking at. That is no longer in play any further for the administration.
Yeah, so I think, Councilman, some of those sites were not large enough, and then the idea of splitting the operation up into 2 or 3 different areas just didn't make logistical sense. If someone's looking for their vehicle, they're at one lot, or they have to go to another lot, or it's across town. We have everything centralized now. It's kind of, it makes the most sense on how it would work.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Anyone?
Sean.
Okay. Item 10.8, City Resolution 21-667 is a resolution approving the appointment of individuals to the Jersey City Arts and Cultural Trust Fund Committee.
Council, this is a resolution that's coming back from our August meeting, in which we did the administration did pull the resolution after some conversation with Councilwoman Ridley, and the information request, I believe, presented by Councilwoman Ridley had been satisfied, so we're asking for consideration again.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no changes from the previous resolution?
No changes, Councilman, other than just additional information on the Ward A representative provided to the Ward A Councilwoman.
Okay. Just one thing as a technical issue for the city clerk and maybe John Mercer. When you click going back to the August meeting for that resolution, I'm told it goes to this resolution. And I think you want to be able to, even though there's no change in the 2 resolutions, you want to keep the August resolution separated from the September 22nd resolution. So if you folks can take a look at that and make sure technologically all of that's being done correctly, I think.
Well, we'll look at that, but I mean, I think it's actually a good thing that it does point them to the meeting if it does get approved, that it points them to the meeting that it did get approved on, because I know that the agenda reflects the outcome of it being withdrawn. So when someone clicks on that resolution for the attachment, it'll take them to the 22nd meeting if it is approved, and it'll show the approval of the resolution. But we'll look into it either way. Yeah,
I would just argue that Sean, that resolution from the August meeting, the record should, I mean, I know the agenda, the minutes will show that it was withdrawn. But when you click on those resolutions and you're kind of looking for the disposition itself as to what happened there should be some record inside of the resolution that says it was withdrawn, I would assume, but And that's why I would suggest that it be separated essentially.
Okay. Right, on to the next item, item 10.9, City Resolution 21-668. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the business administrator to execute a discharge of mortgage affecting 124 Irving Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, 07307, Block 703, Lot 57. I'm just going to keep reading until you guys stop me for any questions. Item 10.10, Resolution 21-669 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 337 Pearsall Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, aka Block 27902, Lot 43. Item 10.11, City Resolution 21-670 is a resolution authorizing the risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance for the County of Hudson. Item 10.12, City Resolution 21-671 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an extraordinary unspecifiable service agreement with Claims Resolution Corporation, Inc. to act as a third-party administrator for workers' compensation and liability claims for the City of Jersey City. Item 10.13, Resolution 21-672 is a resolution amendment to the City of Jersey City JCRA cooperation agreement regarding Berry Lane Park. Item 10.14, Resolution 21-673 is a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various motor vehicles at public auction. Item 10.15, Resolution 21-674 is a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal governmental agreement with Hudson County in connection with a grant application for Hudson County / Jersey City Transitional Grant Areas fiscal year 2022 funding to various projects servicing AIDS patients. Item 10.16, Resolution 21-675 is a resolution authorizing the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to apply for and accept grant funds from the State of New Jersey Department of Health Division of HIV, STD, and TB Services. Item 10.17, Resolution 21-676 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Hudson County Department of Health and Human Services Area Agency on Aging for additional funding to be used to alleviate the cost of increased participation in the city's home delivered Meals on Wheels program. Item 10.18, Resolution 21-677 is a resolution authorizing an agreement with Community Food Bank of New Jersey for NJ SNAP-Ed Nutrition Fitness Education Programming. Item 10.19, Resolution 21-678 is a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus personal property no longer needed for public use by the Department of Administration Division of Information Technology on an online auction website. Item 10.20, Resolution 21-679 is a resolution authorizing a bulk water agreement allowing the Jersey City Municipal Utilities Authority to sell and deliver water from the city's water system to the township of Parsippany Troy Hills.
Clerk, I assume this is the MUA. Are they here to just explain briefly what is going on here? Or the administration can.
They were invited, Councilman, and I know Joe Cunha was having some technical difficulties trying to get in. I'm not sure if Bernadette was able to iron that out with Joe.
I was unable to reach him.
Well, you know what? We'll come back to this, Bernadette, see if you can reach him because we do need to ask some questions. If not, then, you know, we'll just table it. Oh, that's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go to the next one. That's it.
Okay. If we're unable to reach him, we'll have to withdraw the resolution.
Okay.
Item 10.21, Resolution 21-680. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Safeware Inc. for the purchase and delivery of quick bolt trauma kit through the Omnia Partners COP, formerly known as U.S. Communities Governmental Purchasing Alliance for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management. Council members, I believe Director Kearse sent out an email with regards and an explanation regarding this resolution.
Yes, I got it. We got it.
Okay.
We did.
If there's any questions, you can feel free to respond to that email. Next, item 10.22, Resolution 21-681 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Millennium Communications Group for upgrades, existing surveillance cameras and switches under the interlocal purchasing system for the Department of Public Safety Division of Police. Item 10.23.
Do we have an audit of all the cameras in the city and whether they're functional or not? Because we keep approving, you know, contracts for cameras, and sometimes I hear that, you know, there's a camera that's not functional, and
We need Bob Baker here too.
Yeah. Council President, I think it's best that we just consider this at the next meeting and have a lengthier discussion.
Okay. So withdraw it to the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll make sure public safety is available to discuss. So Sean, the administration is withdrawing item 10.22.
Okay, and we'll state that for the record on Wednesday, but I will mark the agenda as withdrawn. Thank you. Okay, item 10.23, Resolution 21-682 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award a contract for professional consulting services related to the preparation of an updated architectural survey to identify historic properties for Ward F.
Okay, somebody here? Anybody want to talk about this or no?
Tanya?
Tanya?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is very similar to the one that we did within Ward D. We do have architectural structure surveys. The last time they were done was in the 80s. And so we are updating ward by ward. Ward F has shown to be a little bit more substantial than most of our wards. So we imagine that the cost will be a little bit higher, which is why we're doing it through the RFP process.
Okay. Any questions?
Tanya, may I just ask, the decision to do this, how is that determined that there's a desire to do this sort of architectural survey and update historic properties in the ward? Is that initiated again by outside groups or organizations, or is that just something internally? Determination, is it the ward councilman? I'm just asking.
It was something done internally through city planning. Now, especially there are two, I think, causes behind it. One is the demolitions that we've been doing, which is still kind of a new ordinance, I'd say. And we are seeing where the upticks in the requests for demolitions are, and they were definitely within Ward D and Ward F. And so it becomes a matter of, you know, resources and what we can do and get to first. And the preservationists rely a lot on these surveys in order to get their information for their reports and make their determinations. And then, you know, secondly, because we've been doing our master plan, I think a lot of these issues have been coming up and realizing that we really needed to be more up to date on the, you know, the resources and information that we have.
Would this be publicly accessible after the survey is done?
So yes, our surveys will be online within the city planning website. The word D is not done. It's still being conducted, and I'm sure that since it's not done by typewriter like the one in 1984 was, it will be easily uploaded and we can share it. That certainly is our goal, but yeah.
Tanya, you mentioned 2 wards. Ward C has taken a beating with them tearing down historic houses all over the place here, and the Historic Society, and nobody's done anything about it. Perrine Street, High Street, right, walk around campaigning, seeing what they're tearing down is a shame. And they're destroying a lot of communities with what they're doing. So I think Ward C should be put preference for all this destruction that's being done.
Yep.
Okay.
Are there plans for every ward to get a historic survey done?
Yes, ideally it's citywide. And because, demolition requests can come from any part of the city. Our next priority would definitely be Ward C. I think what we've been able to do on Ward C is we've been able to use kind of staff resources and have staff go out and do a lot of on the site and the field quick determinations, but certainly not the level that we really need from a consultant.
Yeah, they're tearing down some nice houses on Perrine Street this week. We had them stopped because they didn't have permits. It's a shame what's going on. Tanya, it's a real shame.
Thank you, Tanya. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Item 10.24, Resolution 21-683. It's a resolution authorizing the waiver of the 20-day waiting period pursuant to NJSA /40 69A 181B for City Ordinance 21-602, which is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332 Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3 Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-24 No Parking certain hours on Washington Street and Columbus Drive in the vicinity of 25 Christopher Columbus Drive. Item 10.25, Resolution 21-684 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City referring inclusionary zoning ordinance to the Planning Board pursuant to NJSA 40:55B-26 and NJSA 55B-64. Item 10.26, Resolution 21-685 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award a contract for consulting services needed to update historic preservation element of the master plan of the City of Jersey City.
I have a question regarding
I'm sorry, go ahead.
regarding the inclusionary zoning. Doesn't it have to go to the planning board regardless of whether or not we pass the resolution?
Yeah, it has to, but we missed that step the last go round. So I guess Rolanda want to make sure it's done.
Okay.
That's it.
This is a resolution referring it to the planning board. That's what it does. So this is that step that is required to have an inclusionary zoning ordinance
Okay,
adopted by the city council. So the step would be to go to the planning board.
correct.
It has to be sent from the city council to the planning
No.
board?
It should be from the planning board
Well,
coming to
yes.
us.
It
first.
can be,
Okay.
the city council has the legal authority to refer an inclusionary zoning ordinance or other sorts of zoning proposals or amendments and so forth to the planning board for it to refer them to it for their review according to New Jersey statutes, and then to have a recommendation come back. What's also been done in the past and more regularly done in the past is that the administration has simply referred things to the planning board. And then those recommendations have come before the city council. But it's completely within the New Jersey statutes, the authority of the governing body, being the municipal council, to be able to refer an inclusionary zoning ordinance or similar ordinances to the planning board for their review and to request a recommendation, a review and a recommendation. It's very commonly done in other municipalities. Less so, I think, in Jersey City and historically in the past. And frankly, I just learned this recently, and I say recently, in the past 3 years. 3 years ago or so, took similar action because I thought it was common. I thought it was the norm to simply have the administration refer these, but in fact, the statutes vest the power within the governing body to be able to do that as well.
That's good, Youssef?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
I just want to know if absent this resolution, if it would still go to the planning board. If that, no.
Yeah.
The answer would be no unless the administration referred it. So this is a inclusionary zoning ordinance. What's that?
Go ahead, Rolando. Go ahead and finish explaining.
Yeah, the inclusionary zoning ordinance could be referred by any member of the city council. I'm proposing to refer one that has a 20% set aside, 99-year affordability, along with no exemptions and no buyouts. Yeah, no exemptions and no buyouts. So that's the ordinance. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And it's asking it to be referred to the planning board for their review and recommendation. And then, and I don't know the exact, I believe it's 45 days they have, and Tanya can correct me if I'm wrong on that, to review it and then ultimately make a recommendation to the city council.
It's 30,
issue
35?
a report essentially to the city council.
35 days, I think.
Sorry, Councilman. It's 35.
35. Okay. Thank you for the correction, Tanya.
Any more questions concerning this?
This is Councilwoman Prinzary. 2 quick questions. So I know that there have also been meetings with Fair Share Housing and members of the council and the planning department. Are those meetings still happening? And then to Councilman Navarro, is the ordinance that you're proposing also endorsed by Fair Share Housing, or is it something that you proffered on your own to go to the planning board?
Rolando?
Sorry, sorry, my computer's having some problems. Murphy's Law. So actually, I just heard Councilperson Prinzary say that she knew there was meetings with Fair Share Housing and officials, and then beyond that, I didn't hear anything else. After that, it kind of cut out completely. So if just repeat the question, and I'm happy to respond.
Oh yeah, no, so my first part of the question was, what's happening with those meetings? Have there been any actions? And then the second part was the resolution, the ordinance that's in your resolution that's going to planning. Has that been endorsed by Fair Share Housing?
Can't hear you.
So on the first part of the question, I didn't hear the second. I'm sorry again, my transmission must be bad here, but on the first part of the question, I did hear, I sat in on the first meeting, and I had suggested at the end, towards the end of that meeting, that Fair Share Housing representatives meet with city planning officials, absent of myself and the other elected officials, and that they be able to work out what those specifics would be that they would look to see to introduce in that regard. For my part, I said at the time that I was going to be kind of standing for 20% on-site affordable units with no exemptions and no buyouts, which is the ordinance that's before you, the resolution that's before you, and that if folks wanted to propose other alternatives, that would come from others, and that certainly if there were proposals presented, that for my part, what I would do is take it back to the community and see what the community's desire was to see if something like that move forward, if there was anything other than 20% and no exemptions and no buyouts. And the rationale from my side is that I have a lot of residents who tell me that this is the ordinance that they want to see, 20% on site, no exemptions and no buyouts. And that I'm going to be accountable to them essentially around that. And certainly if there's an alternative proposed, then I will certainly consider it, and then I'll certainly bring it to the larger community and supporters around this particular inclusionary zoning ordinance to see what their appetite is for any sort of compromise or flexibility within an inclusionary zoning policy. And I'm sorry, Councilwoman, again, I didn't catch the second part of your question. So if you want to repeat that again, and I apologize, I'm just not hearing it because of the bad connection on my side.
So if third time is not the charm, I can put it in the chat. But no, I think you may have already answered my question, is just whether or not that the ordinance that you're sending to planning has been endorsed by Fair Share Housing. But I think you kind of already answered that. So.
Yeah. I will have to let Fair Share Housing answer that for themselves, but I think they're in conversations and discussions, and I'm not privy to that at this point. And so I mean, I believe Tanya is more involved in those discussions, and I don't know how confidential they want to keep that at this point, or if they want to be able to share and disclose. That's not a suggestion one way or the other. I'm just saying I don't have that information. So if others want to, if Tanya or anyone else privy to that would like to share that, they're welcome to do that.
I think they're still in the process of meeting. I thought that was the last conversation I heard. Okay, I don't know if you heard me, Mara.
Yes, I heard you.
Okay.
And Councilwoman Prinzary, I know from the discussions I had, they said that it's called Fair Share Housing for a reason, because when I spoke to them, and we're actually going to lunch, I think next week, when I spoke to them and I told them that, you know, Ward F had the majority of the affordable housing from, you know, over the last 4 years, they said that's exactly why we call it fair share housing, because it should be shared equally around the entire city, not just positioned in one part of the city. But I haven't talked to them or met with them since the first meeting.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next. Okay, Sean. Sean? Sean?
Sorry about that. Alrighty. On to item 10.27, resolution 21-686 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-end contract with Duncan Hardware for small tools and hardware supplies for the Department of Public Works Division of Park Maintenance. And the last resolution I have is 10.28, resolution 21-687 is a resolution authorizing the public sale of 11 motor vehicles, 3 dump trucks, 2 passenger vans, 2 cargo vans, and 1 tool cat no longer needed for public use through the publicsurplus.com public online auction. Okay, that is all the items I have.
Councilman Solomon wants to have a conversation and talk about the resolution that we that he sent around to get everybody's opinion on.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention the ad hoc committee to look into Suez. Apologize just on my end, there was a snafu. We had uploaded it 12 days ago. We just forgot to hit the publish button. So it was there, but we didn't hit that. And then what we were hoping to do was add the resolution to create the ad hoc committee on this council agenda, so then we can move forward with it with Council President Waterman and everyone on the council. The resolution, you know, is pretty simple, and everyone's had a chance to look at it via email, but very basically it forms the ad hoc committee, calls on us to investigate Suez's response, and then, you know, propose recommendations at the end. of it to make sure that, a lot of the things they told us in the last meeting actually come to pass, and as well as making sure that what they said to us was accurate. And then the goal would be to have our first meeting in early October, and then in that first meeting in October, set our schedule. And a couple council members said they are very supportive, but don't have the capacity to join the committee at the moment. And obviously that can be, whatever to each council person's desires. So if the council is okay, I would love to, add that again as a late item and have us, vote on it moving forward, and then hopefully create the committee.
Any question, guys? I know you got a copy of it, correct?
Yeah, I'll just comment, which is that I'm supportive of adding as a late item, and I don't think we should waste another minute. If catastrophe hits again, it's we need to make sure that we have our ducks in a row. So.
Anyone else?
I'll defer to the council president.
No problem. We good for it.
Okay.
Okay, Sean. Sean.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to unmute myself and I'm speaking at the same time. I apologize again. So, I'm reading a message. Was there an resolution congregate bid meal rejection?
What?
Did anyone see that on the agenda? I know it's not on the agenda, but did
not on the agenda. It was placed in the hands of the law department. It's in the system, so I'm waiting for Metro to approve it because he's been on this call. He may not have been able to see it, but it's pretty urgent. We presented it several weeks ago to the law department and got sort of like sidetracked by a purchasing conversation. And now without a director of food and nutrition, it's even more urgent because the bid came in 3 times the cost of last year's bid. So seeing there was only 1 bidder, and the first time around there was 0 bidders. So we've put out this bid twice, and due to COVID, people just can't accommodate us, but we also can't accommodate the cost of the bid that came in unless there's a rejection. We can't negotiate with the vendors out there related to this, and it's pretty urgent for senior congregate meals to have a steady meal plan. Like, we've been jumping around from restaurant to restaurant to not go over purchasing bids, and staff is running around picking up food and it's just we just can't do it. We're 24 staff under right now. We don't have the capacity to be running from restaurant to restaurant every day, every week, creating a new process to try and get senior meals. And we need to be able to negotiate with large scale retailers that can do multi drops at all of the locations, because right now we're only feeding at 3 of our 10 senior centers. So we asked for a walk-on. It's in the system, and I think it just needs the approval. And so I'm trying to get that situated.
When was it in the system? Who didn't upload it for you, Stacy? What date was it?
So we went back and forth with the law department. It just was like an accident. They were supposed to write it, so I just walked away from it because I had a lot of other things to do. So McKinney just worked with Rachel on it, and with Raquel on it. So it's in the system now, and so I'm asking for this to be walked on via Caucus. Ofer and our acting director, Ed Cho. Ofer Cohen is the manager of Congregate Meals on Wheels. He came on just a few months ago. They have, run the process. We've gone to bid twice. It's not reasonable for us to pay nearly $15 a meal for a lunch. It's just significant. We were paying $5.90, I believe, for this in the past, and we understand with like COVID staffing and equipment and 18 months of no delivery and lower numbers, we're moving in a direction, hopefully with the EPA grant to, start cooking on our own in certain locations so that we can support this in a more sustainable way and hire more people locally. But until that happens, we really need to kind of move forward on rejecting the bid so that we can negotiate with vendors.
Okay, so this is just like you're gonna reject this bid, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think we clear. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it's in the system.
Okay. All right.
So
Noted
that will be added as a late item as well.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's in the system, but it would obviously be let it's already written, it's already there. I just wanted to let you know that it's there and we'd like to get it on to the meeting on.
And then so too, and thank you, but I don't know, was the law department was supposed to do this and it got lost?
Yeah,
or
it was
something?
just McKinney and I walked through it. They had told me they were going to do it, so I left it alone.
Okay.
They didn't do it. We're all very busy, and if there's like not
Yeah.
one person kind of managing through it, and then in the middle of all that, Angela left, took a job in New York, and and I have Happy out, so I'm down significant leadership here right now. So
What's the matter with Happy?
I'm Happy
Okay.
suffered
Okay, I don't want to
serious
say what
illness.
you have on the ear.
Yeah.
But that's no problem. But that's no problem. Okay, we
Okay, so
good.
that will be item 10.30, resolution 21-689, along
Correct.
with item 10.29, resolution 21-688, which would be the ad hoc committee on the sewers
Correct.
investigation.
Correct.
All right, with all that,
That's it.
if there's nothing else,
Yeah, Joyce, when are we going to go back to regular meetings in City Hall? I mean, why
I
can't we?
think I think we should go back soon as possible. But I know the numbers are increasing, decreasing. So we'll have a conversation. I know you want to get back in. I'll have a conversation with the city clerk, and we'll see what day would be good. Because I know people want to come back now.
so just so everyone knows, in order for us to do that, we will have to amend our annual notice in order to
Correct.
go back live. So it's not as simple as just, showing up, at the next council meeting. So we're gonna have to have a resolution on the next meeting.
The next
to go-
meeting.
To go back to live meetings if we're choosing to do so. We did talk about this meeting being the meeting that we were gonna look at the numbers to see where we are with the numbers, and also to see how many meetings were left during the year. But if the council wishes to go back live, we'll have to have the law department put together an amendment to our annual notice in order for us to go back live, and we'll have to duly advertise that annual notice in newspapers. So then all the members of the public are aware that we're no longer doing virtual meetings. We're going fully live. There will be no, going half live, half virtual. That doesn't.
Correct.
Not existing in our municipality. So
Correct.
it's either virtual or it's live, one or the other.
Okay.
Can I
So
ask,
won't you guys just, how do you feel about it? We can go through this right now.
Will we be mandating COVID vaccine cards for people to come, or?
I guess they would have to get tested coming in the building like they do now on a regular basis. When you come to City Hall, you have to get your temperature taken.
You can also provide rapid test if you're interested for individuals.
Okay, that's good too.
Our numbers are much lower, although we do have a current outbreak.
Okay.
We're waiting for, in the next week, the federal government will decide on additional vaccines for 5 to 11. We think that will impact our numbers and booster conversations. There was some talk today about the Pfizer booster, but not necessarily the Moderna booster. But overall, you can see by the numbers on the tableau, our numbers increased directly after large scale events on weekends. So Labor Day spiked, you know, 6-7 days later. But numbers today came in at like 24.
Okay.
Council President, I suggest that possibly we arrange a meeting with Director Flanagan, yourself, and Sean to discuss the logistics and kind of, you know, and then we'll share that with the council as a whole.
Okay. What's to come back? Okay.
Can I just-
Anybody else want to add anything? Go ahead, James.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I just want to add, you know, Clerk, you said there's no way to do a hybrid. So if we went back to in-person, we couldn't live stream the meetings and have people call in that have to be in person?
Yeah.
Has to be in person.
It has to be.
Is
We
that,
don't have the capacity. We don't have the system like that. I don't even believe.
They could come, I mean, there's enough room in City Hall that they can
That's
space
true.
themselves if they feel like that. So she said they could be tested coming in the door. You know, it's more personal to see people and actually have the people there present at City Hall.
That's true.
Councilman Solomon, we don't have the ability to do that hybrid that you're referring to, as far as like calling people, having them call in to the meeting up in the council chambers. And I won't have, you know, my staff won't be able to do what they do here with the virtual meetings.
got it, okay. Yeah.
All right.
I would also recommend you might want to get a DPW involved in the conversations to the extent that there needs to be any physical infrastructure installed for distancing or virus mitigation.
Well, I know
Again,
with all the other municipalities, they have to keep a mask on while they talk, and everybody's pretty much situated like we are in chambers.
You know, again, that the chambers hasn't been set up for that. I know that they haven't done any kind of social distancing or or like putting up any plastic or whatever that may be in other in municipalities. I think when we meet with the council president and Director Flanagan, I think we can have a healthy discussion on the pros and cons about going back, and also, you know, and think about how many meetings are left for the year. You know, we'll take it from there, because remember, we have to always take the health of ourselves and also the members of the public as priority. And I know some council members are eager to get back. I am also, but I also want to take as much precaution as possible. And you know, if we go back too soon, you know, my main concern, and we'll have this discussion when we have the meeting, but the main concern is usually numbers start to spike during the school year, and we're already seeing that a little bit. But as we go back indoors and we're not as out and about as we were during the summer, that's when the numbers seem to be spiking. But I'm not a health expert.
That's not accurate, Sean, but.
Okay.
I'm not a health expert.
But we'll discuss.
Right.
We'll discuss. But we'll discuss.
Okay.
This is Councilwoman Franzeri. Quick question. I know that our council chambers are not equipped to do that, but we do have the new boardroom in the annex.
Correct.
And I don't know if that room maybe can accommodate more, maybe a better choice for social distancing. I know that their dais, I believe, is equipped to hold up to 12 or 14 members. So, you know, just
Yeah.
as we're having the conversation, let's think about utilizing all of the buildings that we have. So
You're at City Hall every day. I see you. I see Denise. I mean, we see people in the council chambers all the time. There's meetings in the council chambers with lots of people. It's been going on for months.
I understand that, but I mean, the annex is a new building, and I think that if we're going to have that conversation, you know, plus we're also taking the council meetings to another part of the city that might not necessarily have access to get downtown. So, you know, I'm just going to throw that out there too, because why not?
We can definitely add that into the conversation, but that would also mean that I'm going to have to take the show on the road as far as I'm concerned. So we can have the conversation. And like I said, I didn't mean anything by it. I don't want to think that I'm a health expert, because I'm not. I'll take back what I said about the numbers. Let's just have the conversation. Let's have the meeting, and let's talk about it before we move anything. And obviously, we're going to have to pass a resolution in order to do so.
Correct. Okay.
Director Flanagan, can I ask a question? Are you still here?
Yes, where else would I be on a Monday night?
So I've been getting a lot of questions about the booster shot from seniors, but from the Johnson & Johnson. Is that
There is
something
no
we can
booster
discuss?
for Johnson & Johnson. There's been no approved booster for Johnson & Johnson at this time. The only reviews at this time is a Pfizer booster and Moderna, but so there's a lot of confusion because there's a third shot of Moderna, which is an equal amount as the same as what they're calling a booster. People with immunocompromisation that can self-identify because you cannot be asked by anyone giving you a shot can go and get a third shot. When someone starts discussing the word booster, they look you up and then they say you can't get a booster unless you've 8 months from your last Moderna shot. That's the only shot that's been approved. So we're waiting for FDA approval on the Pfizer, which was kind of sketchy today. It didn't sound like that was going to happen. And J&J has not presented anything yet. We're also in this space of Moderna having created a booster shot with flu shot support. And that's coming confusing because some people that had already have gotten a third shot, would they be able to get a booster with flu? And before we officially order our flu shots, we want to get some clarity from the CDC. So, but anyone that needs a third shot, so I'm going to ask to remove the word booster from the current conversation. Anyone looking for a third shot can go get a third shot if they took Moderna and they've already had a shot over 12 weeks ago. Anything after that, the actual word booster as a requirement has not been approved by the FDA to start moving on, but a third shot has, yes, been approved for anyone that identifies as immunocompromised. And that's just the government way of reading between the lines. That's just what they've told us, to not use the word booster at this time.
Okay.
Okay, so if anyone's listening, where would they call for this information?
201-373-2316, the same vaccine number that's open 9 to 5, 7 days a week. They can get an Uber and they can get a ride to and from their shot, or they can see where we're up mobily. We have a new mobile location every day. We continue to host at the Bethune Center. Due to the school's opening, we moved out of Ferris High School and we moved out of PS 26. We've opened at Pershing Field, the Gallo Center, and we're still at the Connor Center.
Stacy, you did a good job.
Director, one more time that number.
201-373-2316.
And that's for all questions related to vaccines.
Yes. We can even get you a new card if you've lost a card. That's what we're hearing about often. If you've downloaded the Docket app and it doesn't match what's on your Docket app, we can walk you through that. And then we could, we have a team there working on this now.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you, Stacy.
All right.
You.
All right, Council
Okay,
President. So what I'll do is I'll send out an email to you, to yourself and Stacy and
Correct.
Desiree to set up a meeting. John, I don't know if you want to be part of this meeting as well.
Yep, Sean, thanks. Yeah, I'd be happy to add to the conversation as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn at 5:39 p.m.?
Motion.
Okay, that motion, I'm going to have to give it to Councilperson Soleil because I heard him first. May I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Council President Waterman. On the motion to adjourn at 5:39 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 5:39 PM. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Council President, council members, members of the staff, directors, BA, all of the behind the scenes. Without you guys, this wouldn't happen. And remember to stay safe. And teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Yusef, did you go up to that Bauer Street?
I didn't have a chance to.